Hello and welcome to another edition of Jay Leno's Garage. I'm Jay Leno, and tonight we're looking at a 1959 Chevrolet Impala. Now, why a Chevrolet Impala, you ask? Well, it's the biggest selling American sedan in history, and it's about to celebrate 60 years. Now, when we found this car, it was what we call a street find. It was literally in the gutter. It was filthy, dirty, the top was off, a headlight was hanging out, there was noise and fluids coming out of both ends, sort of like Lindsay Lohan after a party night in West Hollywood. Well, we got her all cleaned up, and here's what she looks like today. Now, you can see a car just like this in the first James Bond film, Dr. No. Now, I like James Bond, but I hope Daniel Craig stops playing James Bond before he gets too old. I think Sean Connery took it a little too far. In his last James Bond movie, he's wearing bulletproof adult diapers. You know, another movie where you see Impala is the movie The Killers with Ashton Kutcher. You know, Ashton Kutcher and his wife Mila Kunis are having their second baby, and she says she doesn't like the term "we're pregnant." She doesn't think Ashton Kutcher should have to say "we're pregnant" just because she is. You know, this makes sense to me. This would be like Mila Kunis just because she's married to Ashton Kutcher having to say, "We're douchebags." I want to show you something over here. You know, here's what I wanted to show you. Look at the sheen on this car, huh? You know, speaking of Sheen, how about Charlie Sheen? I was watching a movie the other night on HBO with Charlie Sheen, where he plays a guy addicted to drugs, alcohol, and sex. Wait a minute, that wasn't an HBO movie. It was A&E's biography. Here's another thing about Charlie Sheen. He once considered changing his name to Charles Sheen so he could get more respect as an actor. You know, I think at this point, Charles Manson's getting more respect than Charlie Sheen. All right, let's take a look under the hood here. Show you what we got for a power center. Now, what we got here is a 348 V8 engine with a 4-barrel carburetor and a 3-speed tranny. You know, speaking of trannies, you heard about Bruce Jenner? He recently said he's made up his mind he's going to be a woman. Yeah, I know he's not going to be a real woman, because a real woman can't make up her mind. One more thing over here. And the last thing I want to mention to you is this slender antenna. Most cars in the old days had a slender antenna for picking up a radio reception. You know, speaking of slender, the other day I was reading about a guy from Jakarta, India, that was trying to smuggle small rare primates out of the country in his shorts. Now, these small primates are known as a slender loris. It turns out when they frisked the guy, that wasn't the only thing in his shorts that was small and slender. What kind of moron is this guy? Tune in next week for another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. I'm heading out of here.